Hello, this is Tammy Cunningham, a relationship and leadership expert. And oh my gosh, today I am here with Judy Croon. Judy Croon is a keynote speaker, a comedian, a motivational speaker. Oh my gosh, she's done so many amazing things. Haven't you? You're the founder of Dog Stars, which is a dog rescue, which is dear and dear to my heart. You've co-authored a book, From the Stage to the Page, Life Lessons from Four Funny Ladies, and co-created Laugh Lines and Stand Up for the Girls. And I understand you raised a metric ton of cash for breast cancer awareness, which is amazing. You're a TEDx speaker, and you worked with some of the greats like Joan Rivers and John Cleese. And also you've got specials out that have been on NBC and CBC and the Comedy Network. And oh my gosh, and now you're here with me. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I've been lucky. I've been very lucky. I've been blessed.
My gosh. Well, I've seen you in action, and I know that you are very talented. You have such a presence in the room. And I wanted to talk to you because you're doing such an interesting thing in terms of handling rooms as a comedian. And it's such a different gig than the kind of rooms that we're handling. However, there's a lot of the same crossover. So I wanted to talk to you about the dynamics of rooms and how you handle the dynamics of rooms and what your experiences have been.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I have been I've been very lucky with crowds, but whether it is doing stand-up comedy or whether it's doing keynotes, and obviously it happens more with stand-up comedy, but there are the hell gigs, right? The hell gigs for stand-up comedy are the bars or the rooms that thought, hey, it would be a great idea to put somebody on stage. Meanwhile, they've made no preparation for a sound system. So you've got, a really bad sound system. If not, or you may not have a sound system at all. Horrible lighting, no crowd management. So someone starts to heckle. There's no one stepping in when this person's going on and on and on. Keynotes are a little different. Obviously, you're dealing with a more corporate crowd. Everybody's sort of on their best behavior for the most part. But sometimes you run into situations where they don't have an AV person, so there's some technical stuff that, like the crossover in comedy, you just got to breathe it in and react to it. Notice the elephant in the room, make a joke about it, and keep going, right? And occasionally, as well as some of these corporate conferences, you have the quote-unquote hecklers, the people who just have to yell something out. And compared to comedy, it's nothing like that. So as a result, you've kind of got this automatic pilot that you go on. When I deal with young speakers or young comedians are speakers who are just starting out. And when I say young, I mean they're just young in their career, but they could be the average age, for comedians between their 20s to the early 20s to their 60s. We have people doing stand-up comedy or speaking. And the main thing that people, and it's sad, the main thing that fills up the real estate in their brain, the majority of real estate in their brain is, what if somebody says something? What am I going to do? And it makes me always flash back to when I was first doing it. That was all I would worry about as a comic. And it's so ridiculous because it doesn't happen all the time. Yes, have stuff ready for when it does happen. Yes, have a plan. But don't spend all of your time worrying about that, because 9 out of 10 times it doesn't happen.
That's great to know. That is great to know. So, it's interesting. A long time ago, I thought people said, oh, Tammy, you're funny. You should be a comedian. And I'm living room funny, but I don't think I'm comedian funny.
That's great.
And so I went to Yuck Yucks a whole bunch of times. And then somebody said, okay, what you got to do is you got to go to an open mic night. And I even had a set, like a 5-minute.
Wow. Tammy, you should have done it.
I know. Well, what I did was I did a recon mission. So I went to the open mic and I said, I'm not signing up. I'm going to see how it goes. And then I saw how it went and I was like, oh no. Like I was 22 years old. I was like, I don't think I can handle that level of potential humiliation.
And what did you see that turned you off of it?
Well, okay. People were unprepared. And in hindsight, I realized that those people were also unconscious. You know, they were just doing their set.
Yeah.
And they weren't looking. So I've learned a lot about that kind of stuff in years since. And the other thing was that the crowd would give someone like a minute, a couple minutes, and just be like, oh. And then people would just start yelling out or, you know, or even worse, the room would feel dead and it would almost feel like it got colder. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh my God, this is really like, this is not the yuck yucks of Saturday night that I was like, oh my God, this would be amazing. Yeah, I want to be a comedian. This is so
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you say that because a number of the issues that you brought up are things that can be fixed way ahead of time. So for instance, I always say to people who are just starting out either speaking or starting out stand-up comedy for the first time, really know your material inside out. I can't tell you how many people say, oh, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to wing it. Really? Because when you go up there and you've never been up there before, guess what kicks in? Not your memory, but adrenaline. And adrenaline makes you freeze like a deer in the headlights. So preparation is massive. If you've ever had to memorize anything in your life, I would say memorize this like everything depends on it, you know, absolutely everything depends on it, because for those 5 minutes, it really does. So have that in your back pocket. Once you have that memorized, then you know what? Then the trick is making it sound off the cuff. Then the trick is just breathing and enjoying it a little bit. But if you don't have it memorized, you're not gonna have that opportunity at all. So that's number one, because I always call it the nacho break. If you go up there, you've done all your homework, writing your funny material or writing your presentation. So let's say it's comedy. Say to the students, you come in here, you put a set together, we put a set together for you, you go up there and you've only got 2 people in the audience and they're eating nachos. Okay, you have to do your set. You do your set, and guess what? After 5 minutes, maybe you get one laugh, maybe you get a cough, or you get somebody reaching and chomping on a nacho that sounds like there's 12 microphones, you know, underneath the nacho, right? I said, okay, yeah, that's pretty painful when that happens, but when you're prepared, at least you go up there, at least you do your set, you come off stage, you go, thank you, good night, you come off stage. Hey, for our first time, nobody's expecting you to riff with the crowd. That's the 5-minute nacho break. But guess what? If you're not prepared, if you go up there and you're going to wing it, adrenaline's really going to kick in. Fear is really going to kick in. And that 5-minute nacho break is going to feel like a 25-minute nacho break. And as soon as the audience smells fear, the audience wants you to do well because the audience wants to be relaxed. As soon as you are stressed out about your set because you can't remember it, or you're freaking out because you're looking at them, they're looking at you, it's like a spaghetti western. Whereas the set's not going anywhere, you know? So at least if you're prepared, the 5 minutes will feel like 5 minutes. It'll be a painful 5 minutes, but you'll get off and you'll go, there's 2 people in the audience. What am I going to do, right? But if you're not prepared, the 5 will feel like 25. It'll feel like 2 hours. It'll feel like an eternity that will turn you off of doing stand-up and you'll never go back to it. It'll turn you off of speaking. You'll never go back to it. And what a shame, because you didn't prepare.
Exactly. Yes, I totally agree. And this is one of the biggest things that I talk about is being prepared, because if you're not prepared, then you can't notice the room.
Right.
Like you just can't notice what's really going on in the room.
Yeah, you don't see it. And you know, to that point, I will say the third part of preparation is, okay, so now you've got your set memorized. Now you're physically up there. Own the first third of the stage. Take a step and own the stage, because if you're comfortable, the audience is comfortable. So own that first third of the stage. How many people stand at the back of the room or stand in the middle of a stage? And as a result, the audience is subconsciously reading it. Oh, that person can't wait to get off the stage. So own the stage, rock the stage, right? And finally, you know, once you have your set memorized, once you physically own the stage, the last thing I always say is have a little bit of material prepared for those moments when you have crickets in the audience. You know, anything from is this on? It's like, oh, I know you're out there. I can hear you leaving. Whatever your hack lines are, you know, whatever your hack lines are for crickets or your hack lines are for hecklers, just imagine what are the 5 worst things that somebody can yell at you on stage. What would your response be to that? We spend a class working on getting that artillery in your tool belt. Then you go out there with all sorts of confidence because you know what you're going to say, worst case scenario. And 9 out of 10 times, it never happens anyway, right? But it just puts you in a different headspace.
For sure, for sure. I think one of the things that most newbies struggle with is this like need to be liked. And it puts like this social veneer over top of, or like that, you know what I mean? Like there's a mask and a mask and a mask, and we don't get to the real person, and people can feel that fakeness or feel that neediness. And so is that something that you have helped people address?
Well, I would say indirectly. I haven't put it in that, I haven't used that terminology, but the terminology I use is write what you know. Because if you are, number one, passionate about whatever it is, I don't care if you're passionate about collecting toenails. You know, we want to know why you're passionate about collecting toenails, because when you're passionate on stage about something, at least the audience is going, okay, I want to hear what this person is what is so great about toenails? What is so great about watermelons? What is so great about the weather? Why are they so, and then that gives you something else to hold on to. And it gives the audience something else to hold on to, as opposed to, oh my God, this person's looking at me, I'm looking at them. It's just like the never-ending mirrors, the house of horrors, right? So at least have something to latch on to. If you're passionate, the audience will be passionate. And then and then the second prong to that is write what you know, write about yourself. And we do exercises so that people can very quickly develop material that is, people love to talk about themselves, right? So if you can talk about yourself, you're comfortable. If you miss a line, you'll know what to say because you know the story. It's you're talking about. So start with the easy stuff. You know, don't start with the hacky stuff. Don't start with the stuff that you think, okay, I've got to be really original, because then you go into the grip. And once you're in the grip, you can't be funny. You know, you can't be funny. You can't be natural. So write what you know. Don't go for the punchline. Just let it happen organically. We have a number of exercises to do that, and memorize it. Boom, have a couple of lines for crickets and hecklers, and you're all set. It's that easy, Tammy. Why are people listening to us?
I should just go out right now. I would have 5 minutes.
Yes, we're going to work on you. We're going to get you back on stage.
I kind of just do all my comedy through my other work, right? And I get to have people laugh. And I totally understand too what you mean about being natural. Like when I ran, recently I ran Bad Girls Tea Party, and my co-facilitator hadn't co-facilitated with me before. And so she was like, oh, Tammy's just winging it here. But no, I wrote all those little jokes, those little throwaway jokes. You know what I mean? Like we had a gift, like a prize table, and my book was on the prize table. So when somebody won it, I said, hey, that's going to look great in your bathroom. I knew I was going to say that when, when I gave out the prize, right? It's just like, okay, I'm prepared with some little zingers and some light moments. Smart,
very smart. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, you're only a couple of lessons away from being on late night TV.
You're hilarious. Oh my God, you're so funny. So I just want to go back to you're in a comedy bar or wherever it is, and you're doing your set, and it's so different because you've got people who are drinking, people who are eating, people who are ordering food. So what do you do, or do you have any things that you do to keep people engaged to the front of the stage?
Again, preparation is so important, especially when you're just starting out. If you're doing a 5-minute set, it is so important to know that material, because you have that 30-second window to grab people's attention away from the nachos, away from the drinks, away from the people that are coming in late. They're like, oh, we're over here. So the biggest thing is again, preparation and passion, and having an attachment to your material. It sounds so basic, but so many people don't do it. So many people just, again, want to wing it. And they see them waving to the people at the door. They see them reaching for the nacho, and then they freak out, and then you've lost. So preparation is major. The other thing you can do is if you are so prepared, then you can afford to wing it, because you know exactly where you're going to go with your material. So, you might make a comment about something in the room, right? And it's like, the people that are late, the people that are coming into the room late, it's like, oh, didn't you get the memo that the show's starting late? Do we have to buy you a watch? Are you in the wrong time zone? Whatever your comment is about that issue, great. You've said it. The audience is like, okay, you're not a robot up there. But again, if you know your material enough, that's all you need. And in knowing your material, it gives you a little bit of freedom to play with the room. You don't have to go up there and be Henny Youngman and play with the room for 20 minutes. Nobody wants to see that either, because time is valuable on stage.
For sure. And I think you really also hit on something that's vital, and that is the willingness to call something out when it's happening. Because if we ignore what's happening in the room, then it's like that thing gets bigger in the room.
Right. And it looks like your ears are painted on, right?
Yeah. So I think and what you're talking about, I think, is almost like affectionate teasing. You know what I mean? Like, people are coming in and it's affectionate teasing, and it's, it's funny, and they can laugh at it too.
Right.
Yeah. That's so great.
Right. Yeah. So making fun of it. And if you say something, and this is why preparation is so important, and I beat this to death, like anything in the class, but if you say something and you don't get the people rolling in the aisle because of it, don't expect it. Go to your material, because you know your material. But it just
it
sends a message to the audience that your ears aren't painted on, your eyes aren't drawn on. You can take in that vibe and you can move with it.
I've presented in front of different groups. So I've presented in Canada, I've presented in the United States and in the UK. And I noticed that each group had its own feeling about it. Like in Canada, it feels like they're like, okay, good for you. Okay, we're rooting for you, till they're not, But even when I bombed, and I have bombed as a speaker, even when I bombed, I've, it felt like a very quiet room, but still a supportive room. But in the United States, it's like they're racing ahead of you. You know what I mean? Like, they're laughing before you're finished, or they already know everything, right?
Right.
But what I found in the UK, like, the UK was the best place for me to ever practice speaking or ever running workshops, because they were like this. It was like, show me. Right. And it was the first time where I was like, is everybody, like, are you breathing? Are you here? That's so weird. And then about a quarter of the way in, they started to melt. And then by the end, they were all like, oh, this is so great. But in the beginning, it was very much show me. Have you noticed that? Yes.
Sorry. And if you weren't prepared, that would have totally thrown you off, because you're not used to walking into rooms where everybody's got their arms crossed, right? But I'm sure you were especially prepared because you're going to another country. And as a result, you could get your traction underneath you before they started to melt a little bit, right?
Yes, exactly. But it was a little bit shocking for me, because I found the British so warm, like just meeting them. But then as a group, they were like, prove it. Prove
Right.
it.
Right.
Okay, here we go, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would recommend to anybody to go and put yourself in front of the hardest room you can find.
Yeah,
And just like,
absolutely.
how can you get through, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And bomb as much as possible. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like when I really bombed once. I really, like, it was like there was a concussion in the room practically. I bombed so bad. And I just remember thinking like, okay, I know I'm supposed to bomb sometimes, so this is good. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like this I've got a bomb under my belt. This is important.
It is important. And as even Jerry Seinfeld has said, guess what? You're getting the check and you're moving on to the next thing. So don't let it eat you up for the rest of your life. You know, I love the saying that you're never as good as you think you are and you're never as bad as you think you are.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle. So relax. It's life. You know what? It's not brain surgery. Someone's not dying. Yeah, maybe we die on stage, but nobody's dying on a table. So who the hell am I to say, oh, I had a bad presentation? You know, I'm going to let this eat me up for the rest of my life, right? You can't.
Yes.
You got to move on.
For sure. And I know for me, at the end of presentations, I often will have people come up and they want to talk and they, you know, want to meet me. And sometimes those people are like people that heckle after the fact, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Like they come and they say, actually, you know, I don't know if that fact was true. I'm just going to Google it. And, or, you know, if you just did this little thing, or, you know, you shouldn't wear dangly earrings when you speak because it's too distracting. And, you know what I mean? Like they come and give you all this. It does feel like being like post heckled.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Right.
And I think that one of the things is to like, certainly, and I'm sure you've experienced this, like, it's like you have to take off these veneers
Mm-hmm.
and be able to be who you are. Otherwise that stuff can get inside you and really affect you. Yeah.
Yes. Everybody has killer sets. Everybody has had one or two standing ovations, and everybody has had bombs. And if you talk to anybody who hasn't, they're lying. Because guess what? You may have a perfect presentation. It may just be the wrong room. Those people, I've walked into audiences where they're like, yeah, we'd like you to talk about stress, you know, give us some stress busting tips, because after your presentation, these people aren't sure if they're going to have jobs or not. I'm like, oh, well, that's challenging. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. What a hilarious day that's for them, right?
Right.
Wow. Crazy.
So it's not always you. And if you're prepared, then you've upped your ante by 50%.
Absolutely. Okay. I love this talk so much. Now, will you tell the people watching where they can come and take courses with you? Because I think that this is so smart. I remember Michel Niret, you know, he famously talks about how he went and learned stand-up comedy and did all that stuff just to hone his skills. And I think one of the biggest things that he got out of it was stripping that veneer away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would love for you to tell people about what you're up to.
Absolutely. I teach at Second City, but a lot of times I teach privately just because I'm on the road a lot with conferences. But people can just go to my website, judycroon.com. And there's a page there with my services, including coaching. And we can either coach over the phone, or if you're in Toronto, we can meet. But I really recommend folks just trying it at the very least once or twice in your life. You'll never regret it. And especially in this day and age where people are doing more of this, or doing webinars, they're having to speak in front of small audiences. You need that tool in your tool belt. And especially with the world getting a little bit kind of cuckoo, it's good to have humor. It's good to have some humor injected into whatever, whenever you can, put it in your presentation. Because number one, it keeps your audience a little bit more on their toes, especially if they've been watching hours and hours of other speakers or material that's very dry. And it just says, look, people, you know what? We're in this all together. Let's just have a little fun while we're at it, right? So it's never a lost skill, but it is a skill. It is something. And I think I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many times people have either come to class, or we've gotten together, or we're over the phone doing a session. And I'll say, okay, so make sure you record that. Make sure you write that down. No pen, no paper, no computer, no nothing. It's a skill. You would never think of coming to a piano class and not having your sheet music with you, or, you know, having your piano with you. So have something.
Absolutely. Like, I actually keep a pad of paper and pen beside my bed at all times, because it seems like as soon as I'm nodding off to sleep, that's when all the stuff comes up and my brain goes, hey, let's do a creative dump right now.
That's right.
And in the past, I've gone, I'll remember it in the morning. No, I won't remember it in the morning. It's gone. The inspiration is a one-time only God gift, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's when I've like written down even just basic notes, just really basic. And often that stuff ends up in my talks, or I use it as side, like even that little joke, oh, this will look great in your bathroom. Like that was just something I thought of when I was going to sleep. And then, because I was thinking somebody's going to end up with this book in the bathroom. So and I wrote it down, and it ended up as a little joke, and everybody just loved it. Everybody died of laughter, and they totally thought it was a throw off.
Yeah.
They totally thought it was just, I was just riffing. Judy, when I see you, it always seems like this just came right off the top of your head. You're such a natural. You're one of my very, very, very favorite comedians. I just adore you. I just adore you. And I'm so grateful that you would have this chat with me today.
Well, I'm glad that we had an opportunity to finally, talk, because it's been ages. But now that I know that you kind of had that thing about doing stand-up in the past and you didn't do it, I'm going to remember that. All right. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to get you on that stage.
You're so sweet. Wow. That's the scariest thing I've heard all day. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, keep doing what you're doing. Keep putting the positive vibes out there, and just call me anytime. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. And you can find Judy and go to some of her courses and see her stuff. Oh my gosh, she's so funny. So thank you, my dear.
Thanks, Tammy. By the way, really quickly, we're always trying to put a fundraiser, another comedy fundraiser in the works.
Good.
So if you go to my website and you want to shoot me an email and say, Jude, whenever next time are you doing a fundraiser for Dog Stars, or for, I do a lot of work with City Street Outreach, helping Toronto's homeless. And Sistering is another organization. So if you want to shoot me your email and let me know, I will put you on. I'll put you on the guest list and give you some information the next time we're doing a fundraiser. Okay?
Great. Awesome. Mwah! Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Tammy.